I have clients that have arranged marriages, believe it or not.
How does that work?
I was surprised to see that it is not like something that I thought would never happen, but my practice is in New York, and I'm not really seeing clients as much actively now as I used to in the past. But I mean, there's actually a lot of people from cultures where their parents are arranging marriages, and it's not as bad as it sounds. Like, their parents are not like forcing them to get married to anybody. It's more like their parents are just like lining up.
This is such a complicated topic. I don't like arranged marriages, obviously. I have heard people in arranged marriages describe and defend them as an institution, and there are several benefits that I believe exist, but I don't think they outweigh the downsides. It's really complicated, and it also depends on how it's done. There are cultures for which an arranged marriage is basically just like total coercion for the woman. Like literally like a 15-year-old girl will just be told one day by her father, like, yeah, there's a guy in the neighboring village, and like, yeah, good luck. And that's that. And obviously this is like horrific and indefensible and essentially like a crime against humanity. Like, it's disgusting. There are like a lot of people. I would say more commonly though, especially in the West certainly, and in a lot of countries. Like in India, I think, like in cities, this is far more common. An arranged marriage is more like your parents line up suitors and you're basically just like told to go on a date with them. And if things don't work out, you go home and your mom's like, ah, da da. And you're like, eh. And they're like, eh, okay. And they find another person, right? I was thinking of Italians for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why I was thinking of Italians. I had a conversation with an Indian woman for whom it was like this. She started to be given suitors when she was 18. And it basically just meant that her mom and dad were like, look at him. He's such a nice guy. Oh my goodness. Look at his hair. Ooh, go on date. Go on date with him, go. And then they would go and get like a lunch together and like, sort of pleasantly get along. And the guy would be aware of the artificiality of the situation, so he wasn't that pushy. Like, basically he would be like, oh yeah, yeah, well, I guess our parents are friends. Do you like do you like shawarma? And so, and they would talk for a bit. And if, things seem nice, then they would talk more. And if not, then they would end pretty quickly. And that happened a couple of times. And eventually they found someone they liked. They ended up getting married. And I will say this. I don't necessarily think it's bad to have your friends and family involved in choosing like a range or like suggesting suitors. But it really depends on if you have good family and friends, right? And it depends if the system is good. Because if this manifests as like horrible abusive parents pushing people on you, then that's awful. But if you have supportive parents who are just like, friend of friending you, like literally doing the like, hey, I found you a job by talking to this guy at the bar kind of dealio, like, then I think that can be like a good in because you're benefiting from a larger social circle than you have on your own. And that can be good, I think. Yeah, it's just one of those situations where I can't endorse it at all because I know it can go bad in so many ways. But I do know people have had good experiences with what they call arranged marriages. As long as by arranged marriage, what we're referring to are like your family suggesting playing matchmaker, that kind of thing. Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm over talking on this one, but yeah, it's complicated. It really is.
First dates for them, essentially. And some of the clients that I would have that didn't have that happening for them, they would be like, I kind of wish my parents would do that for me. Because it tends to happen, obviously not with all, but like in the Jewish communities and with the people who have...
Oh, that's true. I know a Jewish girl in high school for whom this happened as well. Yeah, Orthodox Jewish.
From India,
Yep.
They tend to have that happen more often.
Yeah.
At least in just my colloquial observations.
Those sound like blind dates. They're setting up blind dates.
Yeah, basically blind dates. Yeah.
But that's different than saying you're marrying this person now.
You're right. It's arranged marriage opportunities. Like where they're setting up blind dates with somebody who's marriage minded. But you're right. It's not like they're just saying, hey, go meet your husband.
And also,
if my family set me up for a blind date and we ended up really liking each other and getting married, I don't know if I would feel comfortable calling that an arranged marriage. Like, that was literally just my family suggested somebody, and I saw them, and we hit it off. But the chemistry was all us, right? Like, all my parents did in that case would have been, like, suggest a person. I don't know if I could call... That's not, like, an arranged marriage. I guess this is, like, the liberal, like, watered-down version of an arranged marriage. I mean, it's that element of it sounds nice, I think, in abstract, in some cases. All right. Just happy when people are happy.
So in most arranged marriages, the person has the option to not marry. It's not like the parents go, you have to marry this person. Like, they pick someone and then they get to know them, and then if they don't want to, they do get the final say. Yeah.
But I think a lot of
Not all the time, obviously. In certain cultures, that's not the case.
I think a lot of cultures, they can just say no, but then the parents are like, don't do this. Like, we've worked hard at this.
Cultural
So
pressure.
there's pressure for sure.
Right.
That makes sense.
But it used to be with arranged marriages where like the dad would go to the dad of the daughter and be like, how much money do I get? We're doing this.
Dowries.
Yeah.
Dowries and land grants and
Yeah.
things like that. That's why a lot of the royal families were doing it all. You know?
100%. Well, one of the
That's
things
still
that
really
I noticed
common.
in that conversation about arranged marriage is that both parties are going into it with the understanding that they are dating for marriage. It's something we don't have anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And not only dating for marriage, right, but giving up this idea that there is a quote-unquote soulmate. I think it's a really toxic and destructive idea that there's going to be someone who will come along and you'll just have an effortlessly good relationship. That's not going to be true about friendships or relationships, like any kind of relationship that you have. And so
I don't like the idea of dating for marriage at all. That sounds really psychotic to me. I feel like if you know somebody and you like them and you want to spend time with them and you want to date them, that's great, right? But I feel like the marriage thing, that's such a complicated commitment. That's such a big thing. The idea of doing tryouts for marriage from the get-go, like day one, like, oh, I met this person, now we're going to try to see if we want to marry each other. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's putting the cart before the horse. I feel like the marriage question should be answered after a bunch of other questions, like, you know, do we get along well together even if we're having a bad day? Stuff like that, you know? But I don't know. I guess it can vary. You know, people have different expectations. I've always felt, for me, the most psychotic rule has always been you can't sleep with a person / you can't live with a person until you're married, because that shit is insane. You do not know if you like a person until you've lived in their house. It's so different. Meeting a person for like a date where they dress up and it's like a whole thing, like anyone can put on a good face for that, man. Living with a person is totally different. For me, the hallmark of like a good, and you can see this, by the way, with roommates. Guys, ever had a good friend who ended up being a bad roommate? This is like such a common thing. People are so different when you just have them at home. Being like wanting to be next to a person like at home is so different from wanting to go out for expensive food for 3 hours on one day once a week. It's so different. Also, like the idea that you shouldn't pork before marriage is super dumb. Obviously, the internet is littered with older married couples who are both miserable because they have no sexual compatibility. This isn't even me being like a fucking liberal lefty, haha, namana. Like it's the idea of marrying before seeing if you have any sexual compatibility is just insane. It's so silly, but you know, whatever.